You know that moment when your own child looks at you like you are nothing? When the person you gave life to, the baby you held against your chest through endless nights, the toddler whose scraped knees you kissed, the teenager whose tears you dried, when that person stands in your kitchen and tells you that your disease belongs by the trash. I know that moment. I live in that moment. And if you are watching this right now, if you clicked on this video, then maybe you know this moment too. Maybe you have felt the sharp, cold blade of rejection from someone who was supposed to love you no matter what. Maybe you have seen that look in their eyes, that mixture of disgust and impatience, and something worse than hate, because hate at least acknowledges you are still there. But this look says you are already gone. My name is Margaret, and I am 76 years old, and I have Alzheimer's disease, and my son told me I belong by the trash. But what happened next? What he saw when he came back through that door, it changed everything. And I need to tell you this story, because maybe, just maybe, you are living this story right now, and you need to know you are not alone. It started on a Tuesday morning. I remember it was Tuesday because Tuesdays are when the garbage trucks come down Maple Street, and I can hear them from my bedroom window, that grinding mechanical sound that pulls me out of sleep. I woke up confused, the way I wake up most mornings now, staring at the ceiling and trying to remember where I am, who I am, what day it is, what year it is. The confusion is like being underwater. Everything is muffled and distant, and I'm reaching for the surface, but I cannot quite break through. I laid there for what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes, and slowly, the pieces came back. My name is Margaret. This is my house. I have Alzheimer's. My husband died 3 years ago. My son David lives across town with his wife and 2 children. These are the facts I repeat to myself every morning like a prayer. Like if I say them enough times, they will stay true. They will stay solid. They will not slip through my fingers like water. I got out of bed and walked to the bathroom, and that is when I saw the notes. I have notes everywhere now. Little yellow sticky notes covering every surface, reminding me of things I should not have to be reminded of. Brush teeth. Take medication. Eat breakfast. Do not use the stove. Do not leave the house alone. The notes are in David's handwriting, his neat block letters that have not changed since he was in 3rd grade. I stared at the note on the bathroom mirror that said brush teeth, and I felt a wave of something I cannot quite name, something between gratitude and humiliation, because I am grateful that someone cares enough to leave me these reminders, but I am also humiliated that I need them, that I have become a child again, that my own brain cannot be trusted to remember the most basic tasks of being human. I took my medication, 4 little pills in different colors that I am not entirely sure what they do, but I take them because the notes tell me to take them. I brushed my teeth. I got dressed, slowly, carefully, because buttons are hard now, and sometimes I put my clothes on backwards and do not realize it until I look in the mirror and see the tags hanging at my throat. I made it downstairs without falling, which is a victory because the stairs are terrifying. Each step is a negotiation with my own body, a plea to my legs to remember what they are supposed to do. The kitchen smelled like coffee, but I had not made coffee. This confused me until I saw David sitting at the kitchen table, his laptop open in front of him, his jaw tight with that particular tension he carries now whenever he looks at me. He did not used to look at me like that. When he was small, he looked at me like I was magic, like I could solve any problem, like I was the safest place in the world. Now he looks at me like I am a problem that needs solving, like I am a burden he did not sign up for, like he is counting the days until this is over. "Good morning," I said, and my voice sounded strange to my own ears, rusty, like I had not used it in a long time. He glanced up from his laptop, barely meeting my eyes. "Morning," he said, and went back to typing. I stood there in the doorway feeling like a stranger in my own home, like I needed permission to enter my own kitchen. I walked to the counter where the coffee maker sat, its little red light glowing, and I reached for a mug from the cabinet. My hand shook. It shakes all the time now, this tremor that I cannot control. And I watched my hand shake as I lifted the mug, and I thought about all the things these hands have done. These hands changed David's diapers. These hands packed his school lunches. These hands sewed the costume for his 3rd grade play when he was a bumblebee, and he was so proud, buzzing around the house for weeks. These hands held my husband's hand when he took his last breath. And now these hands shake and I cannot make them stop. I poured the coffee and some of it splashed onto the counter, and David made a noise, a small, impatient sigh, and I said, "I am sorry. I will clean it up." And he said, "Mom, we need to talk." Those 4 words, We need to talk. They hung in the air between us like a threat, and I knew with the part of my brain that still works sometimes, that whatever came next was not going to be good. I sat down at the table across from him, holding my coffee mug with both hands to keep it steady, and I waited. He closed his laptop. He rubbed his face with both hands, and I could see he had not slept well. There were dark circles under his eyes, and I wondered if he was losing sleep over me, if I had become the thing that keeps him awake at night, and the thought made me want to cry. But I have learned to push down the tears, because crying makes him more impatient, more frustrated, more distant. "Mom," he said, "I have been thinking. Sarah and I have been talking. This is not working anymore." I nodded, even though I was not sure what he meant. "What is not working?" I asked. "This," he said, gesturing vaguely around the kitchen. "You living here alone. It is not safe. You left the stove on last week. You wandered outside in your nightgown at 2 in the morning. Mrs. Chen from next door had to bring you back. You do not remember these things, but they happened. And Sarah and I, we cannot keep doing this. We cannot keep dropping everything to come check on you. We have jobs. We have the kids. We have our own lives." I felt something crack inside my chest, a small, clean break, like ice splitting. I did not remember leaving the stove on. I did not remember going outside in my nightgown. These were gaps in my memory, black holes where moments should be, and I was terrified by them. But I was even more terrified by the look on David's face. "So what are you saying?" I asked, and my voice came out smaller than I intended. He looked down at his hands. "We think you need to be in a facility," he said. "Somewhere with professionals who can watch you 24 hours a day. Somewhere safe. There is a place about 30 minutes from here. It has good reviews. They specialize in memory care, and there is a spot available next month. A facility. Memory care." These were polite words for the place you go to die. I shook my head. "No," I said. "David, please. This is my home. Your father and I bought this house 40 years ago. I raised you in this house. I cannot leave. I will do better. I will be more careful. I will try harder." He was already shaking his head before I finished speaking. "Mom, it is not about trying harder. You have a disease. It is only going to get worse. This is the reality we are dealing with. And I need you to understand that I cannot sacrifice my entire life to take care of you. I just cannot do it." The word sacrifice hung in the air, and I felt it like a slap. "Is that what I am to you now?" I asked. "A sacrifice?" He stood up, his chair scraping hard against the floor. "I did not mean it like that," he said, but his voice was sharp, defensive. "You are twisting my words." "No," I said, standing up too, and my legs felt shaky, but I needed to stand. I needed to be at his level. "You said what you meant. You think taking care of me is a sacrifice. You think I am a burden. You want to put me in a home so you do not have to think about me anymore. So you can go back to your nice, comfortable life and pretend you do not have a mother who is disappearing piece by piece." His face changed then, something cold and hard sliding over his features like a mask. "You know what, Mom?" he said, and his voice was different now, colder, crueler. "Maybe you are right. Maybe you are a burden. Maybe this disease that is eating your brain does belong by the trash, because it is taking you away from me and leaving this angry, confused stranger in your place. And I am tired, Mom. I am so tired of dealing with this." I felt like he had punched me. The words landed in my stomach and knocked the air out of my lungs. "Your Alzheimer's belongs by the trash." That is what he said. My disease. The thing that is destroying me. He compared it to garbage. I could not speak. I stood there staring at him, and I did not know who this person was. This was not my son. My son was kind. My son was gentle. My son used to bring me flowers on Mother's Day and tell me I was the best mom in the world. But maybe that son was gone. Maybe the disease had not just taken my memories. Maybe it had taken my son too. Turned him into this stranger who looked at me with such cold eyes. He grabbed his laptop and shoved it into his bag. "I will be back tomorrow," he said. "We are going to look at that facility whether you like it or not." And he walked out. Just like that. He walked out and slammed the door behind him, and I stood in my kitchen alone. And I have never felt more alone in my entire life. Not even when my husband died, because at least then I had David. At least then I had someone who loved me. But now I had nothing. I do not know how long I stood there. Time moves strangely for me now. Sometimes it races, and sometimes it crawls, and sometimes it just stops altogether. But eventually, I walked to the living room and I sat down on the couch. The same couch where I used to read David bedtime stories when he was small, where we used to watch television together on Friday nights, where my husband used to fall asleep with his head in my lap. I sat down, and I put my face in my hands, and I let myself cry. I cried for the mother I used to be. I cried for the son I used to have. I cried for the person I used to be before this disease started stealing me piece by piece. I cried because I was scared. I cried because I was alone. I cried because I did not know what was going to happen to me. And then I heard a knock at the door. Soft, hesitant, 3 gentle taps. I wiped my face with my hands and I stood up, my whole body aching, and I walked to the door. I was not expecting anyone. David had just left. I did not have friends anymore because the disease had taken them too. Slowly, one by one, they stopped calling, stopped visiting, and I understood why. I did, because who wants to spend time with someone who cannot remember your name, who asks the same questions over and over, who is there but not there, present but absent, a ghost in her own life? I opened the door and I did not know who I was expecting to see, but it was not her. She stood on my porch, small and nervous, her hands twisted together in front of her, her eyes red like she had been crying too. She was young, maybe 30, with dark hair pulled back in a ponytail and a worn jacket that looked too thin for the weather. We stared at each other for a long moment, and I searched my memory trying to place her, trying to remember if I knew her, if I was supposed to know her, if this was someone I had forgotten. And then she spoke. Her voice was soft, almost a whisper. "Mrs. Margaret," she said, "I do not know if you remember me. I am Emma. I used to live next door when I was growing up. Your son David and I were in the same class all through school. Emma." The name stirred something in my memory, something faint and distant like a dream I almost remembered. I had a flash of a little girl with pigtails riding a bicycle in the driveway next door, a teenager sitting on the front steps doing homework, but I could not be sure if these were real memories or if my brain was making them up, filling in the gaps the way it does sometimes, creating false memories to cover the holes. "I am sorry," I said. "I have Alzheimer's. I do not remember things very well anymore." She nodded quickly. "I know," she said. "I heard. That is actually why I am here. Can I come in, please? There is something I need to tell you, something I need you to know. I should have been more cautious. I should have asked more questions, but something about her felt safe, felt familiar, and I was so desperately lonely after David left, so desperately in need of human kindness, that I stepped aside and let her in. She walked into my living room and she looked around, and I saw tears spring to her eyes. "This house," she said. "I spent so much time here when I was a kid. You used to give me cookies after school, chocolate chip. You always said I was too skinny and I needed to eat more. You used to let me and David play in your backyard and you would bring us lemonade on hot days. You were like a second mother to me. I tried to remember this. I tried so hard, but there was nothing, just blank space where these memories should be. I am sorry," I said again, and I felt the tears coming back. "I do not remember. I wish I did. I wish I could remember being that person, doing those things, having that life, but it is gone. It is all gone." She sat down on the couch and she patted the cushion next to her. "Please," she said, "sit with me. I have something important to tell you, and I do not have much time." I sat down next to her, my heart beating faster because her urgency was making me nervous, and I waited for her to speak. "I saw your son David leaving just now," she said. "I was sitting in my car across the street. I have been parked there for almost an hour trying to work up the courage to come talk to you. And I saw him leave and he looked so angry and I thought, this is my chance. I need to do this now before I lose my nerve." She took a deep breath. "Mrs. Margaret, I need you to know something about your son. Something he does not want you to know. Something he has been hiding from you for a very long time." My whole body went cold. "What do you mean?" I asked. "What are you talking about?" She reached out and took my hand, and her hand was warm, and I realized how cold I had been. How cold I had been sitting there alone in my house after David left. "My husband died 7 years ago," she said. "Cancer. It was terrible and fast, and he left me with 2 small children and a mountain of debt. I was drowning. I could not pay the mortgage. I could not pay the medical bills. I was going to lose everything. I was desperate, and I remembered you. I remembered how kind you had been to me when I was growing up, how you always helped people in the neighborhood, how you were always there when someone needed something. So I came to you. This was 5 years ago, before your Alzheimer's got bad. I came to this house and I knocked on your door and I told you everything. I told you I was going to lose my home. I told you my children were going to be homeless. And do you know what you did? I shook my head. I had no memory of this. None at all. You wrote me a check, she said, and her voice broke. Right there on the spot. You went to your desk and you wrote me a check for $50,000. $50,000, Mrs. Margaret. You saved us. You saved my home. You saved my children. And you told me not to worry about paying you back. You said you had plenty. You said you were just happy you could help. You hugged me and you told me everything was going to be okay. And it was. Because of you. Because of your generosity. Because of your kindness. I stared at her. $50,000. I gave her $50,000. But I did not remember. Why did I not remember? Did I really do that? I asked. Yes, she said firmly. You did. And I have been trying to pay you back ever since. It has taken me 5 years, but I finally did it. I finally saved $50,000, and I came here today to give it back to you, to thank you for what you did, to tell you that you changed our lives, that you are a hero, that you are the most generous person I have ever known. She reached into her bag and pulled out an envelope, thick and white. This is a cashier's check, she said, holding it out to me. $50,000. It is yours. It has always been yours. I am just returning what you gave me. I took the envelope with shaking hands. I opened it and I saw the check inside, made out to Margaret Thompson. $50,000. My name. My money. Money I did not remember giving away. Money I did not remember helping someone with. Money that represented an act of kindness that had been completely erased from my memory. I looked up at Emma and I saw she was crying now, tears streaming down her face. You saved us, she said again, and I need you to know that. I need you to remember that even if you cannot remember the actual event, even if the disease has taken that memory away, the impact of what you did is still here. My children still have a home. I still have a life. Because of you. You matter, Mrs. Margaret. Your life matters. Your kindness matters. Do not let anyone tell you otherwise. Do not let anyone make you feel like you are just a burden. You are so much more than that. Have you ever felt like this? Have you ever been told by someone you love that you are too much, that you are a burden, that your illness is an inconvenience? If you are watching this and you are nodding your head, if you are watching this and you feel the tears starting because someone has made you feel small, made you feel like your disease defines you, like you are nothing more than your symptoms, then I want you to stop right now, and I want you to leave a comment. I want you to write these words exactly. I am more than my disease. Write it in the comments. Write it for me. Write it for yourself. Write it for every single person watching this who needs to hear it. Write it because when we say these words together, when we declare this truth as a community, we become stronger. We remind each other that we are not alone, that we are not defined by what we have lost, but by who we still are, that our lives have meaning, that our stories matter. Write it now. I am more than my disease. Let those words fill this comment section. Let them be a message to everyone who has ever made us feel less than. Let them be a reminder to ourselves on the hard days. Please, do this for me. Do this for you. Do this for all of us who are fighting this battle every single day. Write those words and know that someone else out there sees them and understands and is fighting right alongside you. I held that check in my hands and I felt something shift inside me. I had forgotten giving Emma this money. I had forgotten helping her. I had forgotten being the kind of person who would do something like that. But the act itself, the impact of that act, it was still real. It was still true. Even if I could not remember it, it had happened. I had done something good. I had helped someone. I had mattered. And maybe that was what David did not understand. Maybe he only saw the disease. Maybe he only saw what I had lost, what I could not do anymore, the ways I was failing. But he did not see this. He did not see the life I had lived before the disease. He did not see the person I had been. He did not see the good I had done that was still rippling outward, still changing lives, still mattering. Thank you, I whispered to Emma. Thank you for coming here. Thank you for telling me this. Thank you for reminding me that I was someone before I became this. She squeezed my hand. You are still someone, she said fiercely. You are still that person. The disease has not changed your heart. It has not changed who you are at your core. It has just made it harder for people to see it. But I see it. I remember it, and I will never forget what you did for me. We sat there together on my couch, this young woman I could not remember and me, this old woman who could not remember her, and yet we were connected by something deeper than memory. We were connected by an act of kindness that transcended the disease, that proved that love and generosity leave marks that cannot be erased, that the good we do in this world matters even after we forget doing it. Emma stayed with me for 2 hours. She told me stories about when she was young, about times we had spent together, about things I had said to her, advice I had given her, moments we had shared. I could not remember any of it, but I listened and I tried to imagine it, tried to see myself through her eyes, and for the first time in a long time I felt like a whole person again, not just a collection of symptoms, not just a disease walking around in a body, but a person who had lived and loved and helped and mattered. When she finally left, when she stood up and hugged me and told me she would come visit again soon, I felt less alone. I felt less afraid. I stood at the door and watched her walk to her car and drive away, and I held the envelope with the check in my hands, this physical proof that I had been someone worth remembering. I went back inside and I sat down at the kitchen table, the same table where David had told me I was a burden just a few hours earlier, and I thought about what I was going to say to him when he came back tomorrow. The next day came too quickly. I woke up confused again, the way I always do, and I had to piece together where I was and who I was and what was happening. But this time I had the envelope. I had put it on my nightstand so I would see it first thing in the morning, so I would have a concrete reminder that yesterday had been real, that Emma had been real, that the $50,000 had been real. I picked it up and I held it, and I remembered. Not the act of giving Emma the money 5 years ago. That memory was still gone, but I remembered her visit yesterday. I remembered what she had told me. I remembered feeling like I mattered. I got up and I went through my morning routine with the help of the sticky notes. I took my medication. I brushed my teeth. I got dressed. I made myself a piece of toast that I burned slightly, but I ate it anyway, because at least I had remembered to eat. I was sitting at the kitchen table when I heard David's key in the lock. He had a key. Of course he had a key. He let himself in and he called out, "Mom, I am here." His voice was different than yesterday, less angry, more tired. Maybe he felt guilty about what he had said. Maybe he had not slept well. Maybe he was dreading the conversation we were about to have about the facility, about moving me out of my home and into a place where strangers would watch me die slowly. He walked into the kitchen and he stopped when he saw me. I was sitting at the table with the envelope in front of me, my hands folded on top of it. He looked at it and then at me. "What is that?" he asked. I took a deep breath. "Sit down," I said. "Please, we need to talk." He hesitated, and I could see the resistance in his body, the way he did not want to sit down, did not want to have another difficult conversation, but eventually he pulled out a chair and sat across from me. "What is this about, Mom?" he asked, and his voice had that patient, impatient tone he uses with me now, like he is talking to a small child who does not quite understand things. "Yesterday," I said slowly, carefully, because I needed to get the words right. I needed to make him understand. "Yesterday after you left, someone came to visit me, a woman named Emma. She says she used to live next door when she was growing up. She says you and she were in the same class all through school. Do you remember her?" His face changed. "Emma," he said. "Emma Chen? Yes, she lived next door. What about her?" I opened the envelope and I took out the check and I slid it across the table to him. "She came here to give me this," I said. $50,000. 5 years ago, before my Alzheimer's got bad, she came to me because she was in trouble. Her husband had died and she was going to lose her house, and I gave her $50,000 to help her. I do not remember doing it, but she remembers, and she has been working for 5 years to pay me back. And yesterday she brought me this check, and she told me what I did for her. She told me I saved her family. She told me I mattered." David picked up the check and stared at it. $50,000. His face went pale. He looked up at me and I saw something in his eyes that I had not seen in a long time. It was not quite respect. It was not quite admiration, but it was something. It was recognition. Like he was seeing me, really seeing me, for the first time in years. "You gave her $50,000? He asked quietly. "Yes," I said. Apparently I did. And before you tell me that was foolish or reckless or that I should not have done it, let me tell you what Emma told me. She told me that her children still have a home because of me. She told me that her life was saved because of me. She told me that I am a hero. She told me that I matter. I paused, and I looked directly at my son, this man who had come from my body, who I had raised and loved and sacrificed for, and I said, "Yesterday, you told me that my Alzheimer's belongs by the trash. You told me I am a burden. You made me feel like my life has no value anymore because I cannot remember things, because I need help, because I am not the mother you used to have. But David, I am still here. I am still me. And even if I cannot remember every good thing I have ever done, those good things still exist. They still matter. Emma's children still have a home. That is real. That happened because of me, because of the person I was and the person I still am underneath this disease." He was still staring at the check. "Mom," he said, and his voice cracked. "I did not know. I did not know you did that." "I know you did not," I said, "because I could not tell you, because I did not remember, because the disease took that memory away from me. But just because I do not remember it does not mean it did not happen. And there are probably 100 other things I have done in my life that I do not remember anymore, but that still matter, that still made a difference, that still prove that my life has had meaning. You only see what I have lost. You only see what I cannot do anymore. You only see the burden, but I am asking you to try to see the rest of me, to remember the mother who raised you, to remember the person I was before this disease, to believe that person is still here even when it is hard to find her." The silence stretched between us, and I did not know if I had gotten through to him. I did not know if anything I said would change anything. And then I heard another knock at the door. We both turned to look. "Who is that?" David asked. I shook my head. "I do not know. I am not expecting anyone." But something made me get up. Something made me walk to the door. And when I opened it, I saw Emma standing there again. But this time she was not alone. There was a man with her, tall and serious-looking with graying hair, and 2 children, a boy and a girl, maybe 10 and 12 years old. They were all dressed nicely, like they had come for something important. "Mrs. Margaret," Emma said, and her voice was nervous but determined. "I hope you do not mind that I came back. I brought my family. This is my brother Michael, and these are my children, Sophie and Jack. They all wanted to meet you. They all wanted to thank you, because what you did, it did not just save me. It saved all of us. My brother was able to help me because I had a place to live. My children got to stay in their school, keep their friends, have stability when their world was falling apart. Everything good in our lives right now, it all goes back to you, to your kindness, to your generosity." I stood there staring at them, these people I did not remember but who remembered me, who had come to my house to tell me I mattered, and I felt the tears start again. But these were different tears. These were not tears of sadness or loneliness or fear. These were tears of something I had not felt in so long I had almost forgotten what it felt like. They were tears of joy, of purpose, of knowing that my life had meant something. Behind me, I heard David stand up from the table and walk to the door. He stood next to me and he looked at Emma and her family, and I saw his face change again, saw something crack in his expression. Emma looked at David and she said, "You probably do not remember me very well, but we were in the same class from kindergarten through senior year. Your mom was always so kind to me. When my parents were fighting, when things were bad at home, I would come over here and she would give me cookies and let me sit in her kitchen and just be safe for a while. She was like a second mother to me. And when I needed help, when I was at my lowest point, she did not hesitate. She just helped. No questions asked. She saved us, David. Your mother saved us." David did not say anything. He just stood there, and I could see he was trying to process this, trying to reconcile the image he had of me now, the confused old woman who could not remember to turn off the stove, with this other image, this image of a person who had helped people, who had been generous, who had made a real difference in the world. The little girl, Sophie, stepped forward shyly. She was holding something in her hands, a piece of paper folded carefully. She held it out to me. "I made this for you," she said quietly. "My mom told me what you did, and I wanted to say thank you." I took the paper and I unfolded it, and I saw it was a drawing, done in colored pencils and markers, of a house with flowers in the front yard and stick figures standing in front of it. Under the drawing, she had written in careful letters, "Thank you, Mrs. Margaret, for giving us our home. You are my hero." I looked at this drawing. This gift from a child I had never met, a child whose life I had touched without even knowing it, without even remembering it, and something broke open inside me. I knelt down so I was at Sophie's level and I said, "Thank you, sweetheart. This is beautiful. This is the most beautiful thing anyone has ever given me." She smiled at me, a bright, innocent smile, and she said, "My mom says you have Alzheimer's and you forget things, but that does not mean you are not important. She says you are one of the most important people she has ever known." I looked up at Emma, and she had tears in her eyes. "It is true," she said. "Every word is true." The boy, Jack, spoke up then. His voice was uncertain but earnest. "My mom talks about you all the time," he said. "She says that when she did not have anyone else, you were there. She says you taught her that there are still good people in the world. She says you showed her what it means to really help someone without expecting anything back. I want to be like that when I grow up. I want to help people the way you helped us." I could not speak. My throat was too tight. I just nodded at him and tried to smile through my tears. Michael, Emma's brother, stepped forward. He was holding something too, a photo album. "Mrs. Thompson," he said, "I do not know if you remember me, but I used to play basketball in your driveway with David when we were kids. You always brought us snacks and made sure we stayed out of trouble. When Emma told me what you did for her, I was not surprised. That is exactly who you have always been. Someone who takes care of people. Someone who shows up when it matters." He held out the photo album. "My sister put this together for you. It has pictures from when we were all kids. Pictures of you and your family. Pictures of the neighborhood." She thought maybe having these images might help, might give you something concrete to hold on to. I took the album with trembling hands. I opened it, and I saw pictures of a younger version of myself. A woman with dark hair and a wide smile, standing in this very yard with my husband beside me. There were pictures of David as a little boy, playing in the grass, riding his bicycle, blowing out birthday candles. There were pictures of the neighborhood children, including Emma and Michael, all gathered in my backyard for what looked like a barbecue. I stared at these images of a life I had lived but could not remember, and I felt the weight of all those lost memories pressing down on me. But I also felt something else. I felt proof. Proof that I had been there. Proof that I had been part of something. Proof that I had mattered. Even if I could not remember it all, it had been real. It had happened. And these people, standing on my porch right now, they were the living proof that my life had had value. David was very quiet. He was looking at the photo album over my shoulder, looking at pictures of himself as a child, looking at pictures of his father, looking at pictures of a family that felt like a long time ago. Emma turned to him. "David," she said gently, "I know this must be hard. I know watching your mom go through this disease is painful. I cannot imagine how difficult it is. But please do not forget who she is. Please do not forget what she has done. Please do not let this disease be the only thing you see when you look at her. She is still the woman who raised you. She is still the woman who helped me. She is still the woman who made a difference in this world. And she still deserves to be treated with dignity and respect and love, especially now, especially when she needs you most." David's face crumpled. It was like watching a dam break. All the anger and frustration and exhaustion just collapsed, and underneath it was grief. Raw, deep, overwhelming grief. He covered his face with his hands and his shoulders shook, and I realized my son was crying. My grown son who had been so angry at me yesterday, who had told me my disease belonged by the trash, was standing in my doorway crying. I reached out, and I put my hand on his arm. "David," I said softly. He lowered his hands and his eyes were red and wet. "I am sorry, Mom," he said, his voice breaking. "I am so sorry. I should not have said what I said yesterday. I was tired and frustrated and scared, and I took it out on you, and that was wrong. That was so wrong. You did not deserve that. You have never deserved that." He looked at Emma and her family. "Thank you for coming here," he said. "Thank you for reminding me of who my mom really is. I think I have been so focused on the disease that I forgot about the person. I forgot about everything she has done, everything she has been to so many people." He turned back to me. "Mom, I do not want to put you in a facility. I do not want to take you away from your home. I want to figure out a way to make this work, to keep you safe, but also to keep you here, in the place you love, with the memories you have built. Even if you cannot remember all of them right now, I want to do better. I want to be the kind of son you deserve, the kind of son you raised me to be. I hugged him. I wrapped my arms around my son and I held him tight and I felt his body shake with sobs against my shoulder. I am scared, Mom, he whispered. I am so scared of losing you. I am scared every time the phone rings that something has happened. I am scared every time I see you that you will have gotten worse. I am scared that one day you are going to look at me and not know who I am. And I do not know how to handle that fear, so I have been pushing you away. And I am sorry. I am so sorry. I held him tighter. I know, baby, I said, and my voice was steady even though my heart was breaking. I am scared too. I am scared every single day. I am scared of what I am losing. I am scared of what is coming. But we are going to get through this together. We are going to figure it out. And even if there comes a day when I do not remember your name, you need to know that somewhere deep inside me, I will still know that I love you. That will never go away. That is the one thing this disease cannot take from me. Emma and her family stayed for a while longer. We all sat in my living room, squeezed onto the couch in chairs, and they told stories. Emma told stories about coming to my house after school. Michael told stories about playing basketball with David. The children asked me questions about what it was like when I was young, and even though I could not remember many of the specifics, I tried to answer. I tried to give them something, and they listened with such genuine interest that I felt seen in a way I had not felt in years. David sat next to me the whole time, holding my hand, and I felt the shift between us, felt some of the distance that had grown closing up, felt us finding our way back to each other. Before they left, Emma hugged me again. I am going to come visit you regularly, she said, if that is okay with you. Even if you do not remember who I am from visit to visit, I am going to keep coming, because you showed up for me when I needed it, and I want to show up for you now. I nodded, too emotional to speak. David walked them to the door and I heard him talking quietly with Emma, heard him thank her again, heard him promise to stay in touch. When he came back into the living room, he sat down next to me on the couch. We need to talk about how to make this work, he said. How to keep you safe here at home. Maybe we can hire someone to come check on you during the day. Maybe we can set up some better systems. Maybe I can come by more often. I do not have all the answers, but I want to try. I want to do this right. We spent the rest of that day making plans. Real plans. Not plans to ship me off to a facility, but plans to help me stay in my home. David called a home care agency and set up consultations. He called a medical equipment company about getting some safety devices installed. He sat with me and went through the photo album Emma had brought, and he told me stories about the pictures, filling in the gaps in my memory, giving me back pieces of my past, even if I could not hold on to them for long. It was not a perfect day. I still got confused. I still asked the same question 3 times. I still could not remember where I had put my reading glasses, even though they were on top of my head. But it was a good day. It was a day where I felt less alone, a day where I felt less like a burden, a day where I felt like maybe, just maybe, I could get through this. That night after David left, after he hugged me and told me he loved me and promised to come back tomorrow, I sat in my living room alone. I looked at the photo album. I looked at the drawing Sophie had made for me. I looked at the check for $50,000 sitting on the coffee table. I thought about Emma and her family standing on my porch, thanking me for something I could not remember doing. I thought about my son crying and apologizing and promising to do better. I thought about how close I had come to giving up, to accepting that I was just a burden, just a disease, just someone waiting to die. And I thought about how one visit, one conversation, one act of returned kindness had changed everything. Here is what I need you to understand. Here is what I need anyone watching this who is dealing with Alzheimer's or caring for someone with Alzheimer's to know. This disease is cruel. It is brutal. It takes away your memories, your independence, your sense of self. It turns you into someone you do not recognize. It makes you feel like you are disappearing, like you are becoming less than human, like you are nothing but a collection of symptoms and mistakes and forgotten moments. And the people who love you, they struggle too. They struggle to see past the disease to the person underneath. They struggle with their own fear and grief and exhaustion. They say things they do not mean. They push you away when they are really just trying to protect themselves from the pain of losing you. But underneath all of that, underneath the disease and the fear and the anger, there is still love. There is still connection. there is still meaning. Your life still matters. The things you have done still matter. The people you have helped still carry those gifts with them. The love you have given still exists in the world, even if you cannot remember giving it. And maybe that is the real truth that I learned that day when Emma came back into my life. Maybe that is the lesson that my son learned when he saw her and her family standing on my porch. Love leaves marks that cannot be erased. Kindness ripples outward in ways we cannot always see or measure. The good we do in this world does not disappear just because we forget doing it. It stays. It grows. It comes back to us when we need it most. I gave Emma $50,000 5 years ago, and I do not remember doing it. But she remembered, and she came back. And she reminded me that I am more than this disease, that I am still the person who helps people, that I am still the person who shows up, that I am still the person who matters. And her coming back, her bringing her family, her standing on my porch and telling my son what I had done for her, that changed everything. That saved me just as much as I had saved her. So if you are watching this, if you are living with Alzheimer's, or if you are caring for someone with Alzheimer's, I want you to hold on to this truth. You are more than the disease. You are more than what you have lost. You are more than the mistakes and the confusion and the forgotten moments. You are a person with a history, with a story, with a life that has touched other lives in ways you may not even know. And that matters. That will always matter. Do not let anyone, not even the people who love you, not even yourself, make you believe otherwise. You are worthy of dignity. You are worthy of respect. You are worthy of love. And you are not alone in this fight. If this story has touched you, if it has made you see your own situation differently, if it has given you hope or comfort or a moment of feeling understood, then I want to ask you to do something for me. I want you to subscribe to this channel, not because I am asking for numbers or trying to build some empire, but because this channel is about us. It is about our stories. It is about the real, raw, difficult, beautiful truth of living with this disease. Every video I share here is another story like this one, another reminder that we matter, another piece of proof that we are more than our diagnosis. When you subscribe, you are joining a community of people who understand, people who know what it is like to wake up confused, people who know what it is like to see disappointment in the eyes of someone they love, people who know what it is like to feel like they are disappearing, but also people who know how to hold on to hope, people who know how to find meaning even in the darkest moments, people who refuse to let this disease define them. Hit that subscribe button. Join us. Let this be your reminder that you are not fighting this battle alone. Let this channel be a place where you can come and feel seen and heard and valued, because you are. You are all of those things and more. Now I need to tell you the part of this story that I have been holding back, the twist that changes everything. Because Emma coming to my house was not the only thing that happened that day. It was not the only revelation. There was something else, something that David did not know. Something that I did not even realize until after everyone had left, and I was sitting alone with that check and that photo album, and I started really looking at the pictures. There was one photo in particular that caught my eye. It was from about 20 years ago, a neighborhood barbecue in my backyard. There were so many people there. My husband was manning the grill. David was maybe 15, awkward and gangly in that teenage way. And there in the background, barely visible, was a young woman holding a baby. I stared at that woman and slowly, like a fog lifting, I recognized her. It was not Emma. It was Emma's mother. And the baby she was holding, that was Emma. And standing next to her, his hand on her shoulder, was a man I recognized instantly, even though he had been gone from the neighborhood for decades. Emma's father, the man who Emma said had made her childhood difficult, the man who had fought with Emma's mother, the man who had eventually left the family. I stared at that photo and a memory came back to me. Not a complete memory, just a fragment, but it was there, real and solid and undeniable. I remembered Emma's mother coming to my house late one night. I remembered her crying. I remembered her telling me that her husband had left, that he had emptied their bank account, that she had no money and a small child and no idea what she was going to do. And I remembered going to my desk and writing her a check, not for $50,000. That came later with Emma, but a check for $10,000, enough to get her through a few months, enough to keep the lights on and food on the table until she could figure things out. I had helped Emma's mother first, 20 years ago, and I had forgotten that too. The disease had taken that memory just like it had taken so many others, but the act was still real. The impact was still there. Emma had grown up in a home that was saved partially because of me. Her mother had been able to keep things together partially because of me. And 20 years later, when Emma needed help, maybe part of why I had been so quick to give it was because I remembered, even if only subconsciously, helping her mother. Maybe it was a continuation of the same kindness. Maybe it was a circle completing itself. And then I realized something else. Something that made my hands shake as I held that photo. The barbecue in this picture, the one where Emma's mother was holding baby Emma. It was not just any barbecue. I looked closer at the details. There was a banner hanging in the background. I could just barely make out the words, "Happy birthday, David." This was David's birthday party, his 15th birthday, and Emma's mother had been there with baby Emma, which meant that Emma's family had been part of our lives for so much longer than I had realized. They had been our neighbors. They had been our friends. We had shared meals and celebrations and ordinary moments. And when Emma came to me for help 20 years later, I was not helping a stranger. I was helping the daughter of someone I had already helped. I was continuing a relationship that had been built over decades, a relationship I could no longer remember, but that had been real and important and meaningful. I sat there with that photo in my hands, and I understood something profound. The web of connection between people, the ways we help each other and support each other and show up for each other, it is so much deeper and more complex than we realize. We think of kindness as individual acts, isolated moments, but really it is all connected. One act of generosity leads to another. One moment of showing up creates a foundation for future moments. The help I gave Emma's mother 20 years ago made it possible for Emma to come to me 20 years later. And the help I gave Emma 5 years ago made it possible for her to come back and save me yesterday when I needed it most. It is all one story, one long thread of connection and care and love that we cannot always see the full shape of, but that holds us all together. And David, my son who told me my disease belonged by the trash, he did not know any of this history. He did not know about Emma's mother. He did not know about the barbecue where we had all been together when Emma was just a baby. He did not know about the decades of connection that had led to that moment on our porch yesterday. He only saw his mother with Alzheimer's who could not remember things and needed help, and was scary in her decline. He could not see the full story. He could not see the person I had been, or the impact I had had, or the ways that impact was still reverberating through the world. But now he knows. Now he has seen Emma and her family. Now he has heard the stories. Now he has been reminded that I am more than my disease. And maybe, just maybe, that will change how he sees me going forward. Maybe it will help him be more patient on the hard days. Maybe it will help him remember that the confused old woman in front of him is the same person who raised him with love and helped neighbors in need and made a difference in the world. Maybe it will help him see that I am still here, still worthy, still deserving of love and dignity and respect. This is what Alzheimer's takes from us. Not just our memories, not just our ability to function, but the story of who we are, the narrative of our lives, the proof of our worth. The disease erases the evidence of the person we have been, leaving only the shell of the person we are now. And people look at that shell and they forget. They forget who we were. They forget what we did. They forget why we matter. But the truth is still there. Our stories are still real, even if we cannot remember them. Our acts of kindness still count, even if we have forgotten doing them. Our lives still have meaning, even if we can no longer articulate that meaning clearly. We just need people to remind us. We need people like Emma who come back and tell us our own stories. We need people who hold up mirrors and show us who we really are underneath the confusion and the fear and the loss. And so this is my message to you. Whether you are living with this disease or caring for someone who is, hold on to the stories, write them down, take pictures, document the good that has been done. Because one day those stories might be the only thing standing between you and the abyss. One day you might need someone to come back and remind you that you are more than your symptoms, that you are more than what you have lost, that you are a person with a history and a purpose and a life that has mattered. Do not let the disease erase the evidence of who you are. Fight to preserve the story. Fight to remember even when remembering is impossible. Fight to see the whole person even when the disease tries to reduce them to just a diagnosis. Because we are all more than the worst thing happening to us. We are all more than our limitations. We are all more than what we have forgotten. We are the sum total of every life we have touched, every moment we have lived, every act of love we have given, and that can never be taken away, not by this disease, not by anything. When David came back the next morning, I showed him the photo. I showed him Emma's mother holding baby Emma at his 15th birthday party. I watched his face as he processed this, as he realized the depth of connection between our families, as he understood that my helping Emma had not been a random act, but part of a longer story of caring and showing up and being there for people. He cried again. He has been crying a lot lately, and I think that is good. I think he has been holding in his grief for too long, trying to be strong, trying to handle everything on his own. But grief needs to be released. Fear needs to be acknowledged. And love needs to be expressed even when it is messy and complicated and wrapped up in so much pain. We are figuring it out together, David and I. It is not perfect. I still forget things. He still gets frustrated sometimes, but there is less distance between us now. There is more patience, more understanding, more willingness to see each other fully, disease and all, and choose love anyway. That is all any of us can do. Choose love anyway. Choose to show up anyway. Choose to keep fighting even when the fight seems impossible. Choose to believe that we matter even when everything seems to be telling us otherwise. So let me end this story by saying this. If you have made it this far, if you have listened to my story all the way through, then you are part of this community now. You are part of this family of people who refuse to let Alzheimer's define us, who refuse to let it steal our dignity, who refuse to let it convince us that we are burdens or that our lives no longer have value. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for seeing me as more than just a disease. I see you too. I see all of you out there who are struggling, who are scared, who are trying to find meaning in the midst of this terrible journey. You are not alone. You are part of something bigger, and together we are going to keep telling our stories and reminding each other that we matter, that we are loved, that we are enough. Subscribe to this channel if you have not already. Let this be your reminder that you are part of a community that understands, that cares, that believes in the worth and dignity of every person, no matter what they are going through. Hit that like button if this story touched you. Leave a comment telling me your story, or just saying hello, or sharing how you are feeling today. Let us fill this space with connection and support and love, because that is what we need most. That is what gets us through. Not medical treatments or fancy facilities or perfect solutions, but each other, our stories, our shared humanity, our refusal to give up. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being part of this journey with me. I will see you in the next video. Until then, remember, you are more than your disease. You are more than what you have lost. You are a person with a story and a purpose and a life that matters. Do not ever forget that. And on the days when you do forget, come back here and we will remind you together, because that is what we do. That is who we are. We are survivors. We are fighters. We are more than Alzheimer's. We are so much more.